Well, I got started with my major in agriculture at Alcorn State University, where I pursued a degree in agricultural education. However, I was raised on the farm, or small farm, and we did livestock and crop production. And so I was in 4-H, and one of my projects was livestock, pigs. And I had a project there. And so I was interested and majored in agriculture because of those experiences. So I got a degree at Alcorn in agricultural education. Then left there and went to Tuskegee to pursue a master's in agricultural education. And then I taught vocational agriculture in Elba, Alabama for 5 years. Following that, I went to the Ohio State University and pursued a degree in adult education, vocational education. Then I came back to North Carolina A&T as administrative assistant in extension in the School of Agriculture. And I worked there for 30 years. I retired from North Carolina A&T and moved back to my home state, Mississippi, place that I love, and pursued work at Alcorn State University as dean and also professor and extension administrator in the School of Agriculture at Alcorn State. In 2014, I retired and moved to Natchez, where I bought a home, and that's where I'm presently residing at this time. Since that time, I've established a bed and breakfast. I bought an antebellum home, and then I became a consultant for NRCS, that's the Natural Resource and Conservation Service, along with the KKAC Foundation. And we were, a part of our purpose was to connect the NRCS resources with small and limited resource farmers and landowners. And I've been working in that. And then in February of 2020, I established a E&L Foundation to continue doing that work. And so I'm working as a consultant with NRCS, and I'm also working as executive director of the E&L Foundation, which was named after my mother and father, Hector E. and Lucy L. And so I'm still doing that work that I started back years ago. Mr. R.E. Jones was the extension administrator. At that time, they called it the assistant director for extension, because in 1972, the extension director had historically black land grants were reporting to the 1862 director, who at that time was George Hyde. And so I started under that structure. And then in 1978, with the passage of the 1978 Farm Bill, the 1890 institutions were elevated to equal status as 1862. So they had control of their funding, and also they had their own structure. So that's when they changed the title from assistant director to extension administrator of extension at North Carolina A&T State University. And that position had equal status to the state director at North Carolina State. And so we operated as co-equal, and we had joint programs, and our plan of work clearly identified the work that NC State was going to do and what A&T had planned to do. And our thrust was with small and limited resource farmers and limited income families and individuals. That was our thrust. NC State was at the higher income population. However, it didn't prevent either institution from working across the board, but that was our focus. And so we did a joint plan of work between A&T and NC State, and we coordinated our efforts because our administrators at North Carolina A&T sat with administrators at NC State twice a month. And we talked about joint programming, formulated joint policy so that we could carry out a total extension program for the state of North Carolina. That's how we operated. And I worked closely with Mr. R.E. Jones to make that happen. So the two of us were members of the Administrative Council of Extension at North Carolina. Well, we were structured as an extension administrator. I was the assistant administrator. And then we had state specialists across program areas. And then we had field staff. We had agents that were covering certain counties. We didn't have the resources to be in every county, but we put agents in counties where there was a high degree of population within our target audience. And then we had agricultural technicians who worked closely with the agent in that county. They were under their supervision, who focused on, as you talk about, the Farm Opportunities Program. But we also had 4-H program assistants, paraprofessional, some working in rural areas and some working in urban areas. In urban areas in Greensboro, we had the Child Development Program, which we had program assistants that worked in the housing projects and so forth. So that's how we were structured. Our specialists, of course, provide training for our field staff and also provided publication. And they work hand in hand with the county staff, so we had a team effort. And our specialists and agents work closely with the team at NC State and doing joint programs based upon the plan of work that we had, a joint plan of work that we had between the two institutions. Well, if you go back when I came in, Mr. Bill Cooper, who was the 4-H specialist, Ms. Jeffries, who was the nutrition specialist, Mr. Flowers, who was our horticulture specialist at that time, they were trailblazers. And then we had came on with Dr. Thelma Feaster, Mrs. Sheila McDowell or Sheila Sutton, and Bob Williamson, Ellen Smoke. We had Dr. Daniel Lyons, and those were, and John O'Sullivan, who was our farm management specialist. Those were some of the specialists. All of them were trailblazers, and I think all of them did an outstanding job. So I wouldn't try to select one over the other. I think all of them carried out their responsibilities very well. Research Dollars was started in 1978 when we got the extension and research dollar. Prior to that time, from 1972 to 1978, we got a small amount of dollars for extension. In 1972, the 1890 institution got $3 million that were divided among the 16 historically black land grants at that time and Tuskegee. Research, I'm not sure how much they got, but it was divided among the 1890 land grants for research. That was the first time that they got any significant research and extension dollars to do the work. Now, prior to 1972, the 1862 institution provided funds, what they call Negro extension. But after the passage of the Civil Rights, 1964 Civil Rights Bill, then they integrated that and started providing funds for the Black extension. There were a whole lot of issues that we had to fight for. First of all, we wanted joint signage at the county offices, not so to reflect North Carolina State and North Carolina A&T. It was a total extension program where it represented both institutions. We fought for that hard, and we achieved that. And on our letterheads and communication, it went out as North Carolina A&T and North Carolina State. As a matter of fact, on those letterheads, because of moving in alphabetical order, A&T was listed at the top and NC State underneath. And so that was a major accomplishment. Mr. Jones and I, along with Dan Godfrey, we all worked hard to get that done. The other key thing was getting cost share money for our local staff. You know, NC State had been getting cost share money for their agents at the state level as well as the county level. So we fought hard for that, particularly with our technicians and our agents, where we would get cost share money. Now, some counties were cost sharing at 50% level of the county staff. We started out at a lower cost sharing level, and then eventually we got it where it was equal to that of NC State. That was a big accomplishment that we fought for. We also worked hard to get a joint plan of work because by law, based upon the Farm Bill of 1978, we had to do that. And so we accomplished that by having a joint plan of work. Dr. Richard Lyles and Dr. West and a number of others worked closely with us to put together a joint plan of work. The next big thing that we fought hard for was state matching. The legislation later on in the late 80s required that 1890 institution get state matching funds. Well, that means we had to go to the legislature and request state matching. And we had to work with county legislators to get state matching. And so we put together, and I led that team, a state matching team that developed strategies for how we would get solicit those funds. And over time, we had accomplished that. We had state matching across the board, and we had county support across the board. Our county directors, I had to applaud them. They worked very closely with us to do that, some more so than others. But in the end, we got good participation, and we got state matching at a 100% level. We were one of the few 1890s that had moved forward with that at an early stage. However, Alcorn State University, where I worked after leaving A&T, they were getting state matching at a 100% level before the legislation was passed, requiring that mandate. We worked with cost share between the research dollars and extension for some of our staff. Ray McKinney was one of them. When he got his degree at NC State, he called me back and said he was ready to come back to A&T. Well, we didn't have enough money to really provide 100% funding for his position. Mm-hmm. So I called Dr. Sidney Evans and asked him could he cost share on that position, and he was more than willing to do that. So we cost shared 50%, 50-50, and got Ray back, and that's how Ray got involved in research when he came back to A&T. And but we had good working relationships within the university, and we also had a good relationship with NC State. We had challenges, of course, but we met those challenges by being very dedicated and resilient. Well, I don't know whether we do anything entirely different. I think we would begin to build networks beyond where we were working. We would, build stronger grassroots support, advisory groups that will help us carry the water. And, that's critically important even today that we have a strong advisory group. We didn't have really in the beginning a strong advisory group for extension at A&T. We later would join with NC State, and we had one or two representatives from our target group on the committee. And you know how that works when you only have one or two people out of 25 or 30. So I think we would have developed a strong grassroots organization and base. We had some advisory groups in certain subject matter areas, but I'm talking about across the board as far as an organization. That was one of the things I think that we could have done, and that would have been more helpful to us as we began to meet those challenges that we were facing. Travel issues, when I came on board, was, being able to have funds to support travel and be able to get it through the system where they could get their travel checks on time rather than waiting longer than 30 days or something like that. But, as far as travel accommodations and hotels and things like that, they face the challenges as the total community faced in terms of having a place to stay and getting good accommodations and so forth. So that was a part of what we face as African Americans, and moving through the community. Some people on the other side of the aisle that didn't like the idea of having African Americans in certain places and things like that. And so, that was a challenge we faced as a total community, and that also impacted our organization as well. I want to applaud you, Archie, for doing this. I think it's going to be very valuable to our future employees and our community to be able to capture this. Sometimes we fail in capture this, and then it's very difficult to go back and recapture. And so I'm glad to be a part of it, and I want to applaud you and your staff, Ms. Thacker and others, for really moving forward with this. I think this is a great contribution to not only the Black history, but to the history of the total community across the nation.